Hello there, friends. I'm still in Ireland. Ignore the random screaming in the background. I have 2 cousins under the age of 3 in the house right now, and this is the closest I could get to privacy. I'm going into my senior year of high school in the fall, which is just like, whoa, because senior year of high school, what the hell is going on? And one thing that many seniors tend to have when going into their senior year of high school is a lot of summer reading homework. Now, me and most of my friends are taking AP Literature and Composition next year, which means we have to read a lot of books, and so we're reading 4 books over the summer, and I thought that it would be a fun idea to review these summer reading books and post my opinions-y stuff on the internet, because why the hell not? So, first book that we're going to be doing this for is White Noise by Don Dellllo. Just a disclaimer before I continue, if you are trying to watch this video to get out of reading this book, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, I don't think that I'm the right source to give you the sort of summary that will help you get out of reading this book. Go to SparkNotes for that. Here, I'll even make it easy. I'll link it in the doobly-doo. See? You don't have to use me to not read your books. So here's the summary on the inside cover, and then I will give you my summary and my opinions, and then, So, a brilliant satire of mass culture and the numbing effects of technology, White Noise tells the story of Jack Gladney, a teacher of Hitler studies at a liberal arts college in Middle America. Jack and his 4th wife, Babette, bound by their love, fear of death, and 4 ultra-modern offspring, navigate the rocky passages of family life to the background babble of brand-name consumerism. Then, a lethal black chemical cloud, unleashed by an industrial accident, floats over their lives. An airborne toxic event that is more urgent and visible version of the white noise engulfing the Gladneys. The radio transmissions, sirens, microwaves, and TV murmurings that constitute the music of American magic and dread. The summary of the book that I'm giving that is not the summary that the book gives. Basically, Jack is this guy who he works at a college and studies Hitler, but the problem with him is he doesn't actually study Hitler the man, he studies Hitler the concept. He loves the idea of Hitler because he is the man that seems to have conquered death to Jack. And because Jack is terrified of death, he is so fixated on this man who killed so many that he seems to have control of the afterlife. He didn't focus on the fact, well, he did facilitate the murders of 11 million people, you know, one of the greatest genocides in our history. No. He focuses on how he did all that with style. Most of his time, you know, being a Hitler studies teacher and everything seems to be great, blah, blah, blah. It's all essentially nothing. Essentially nothing happens until the airborne toxic event. It's just them going about their daily life, and it sets forth the tone of, look at all this white noise, the television's always on, his friends are always bitching about stuff. So much white noise and so much metaphor, oh my god. Nothing really happens until chapter 21 and the beginning of part 2, the airborne toxic event. But the chemical is called the niodine derivative, and so people are terrified because the niodine derivative has been released into the air and it causes cancer in rats. And something that is always exemplified, I suppose, in this book is that they're constantly changing the symptoms of what niodine poisoning is, and it's concerning everyone, but because of that, it's not concerning. So they start abandoning all domiciles in the event of the airborne toxic event. And so they go to this place, but they realize, shit, we need gas. So Jack goes out into the airborne toxic event, which that's kind of the inciting incident. We were halfway through the book before the inciting incident happened. Oh my god. And so he goes out and they're like, anyone who's been exposed to the gas, you need to come here, and he's given basically a timeline for his death, which him being Jack and his defining characteristic being that he's terrified of death That's not good. But he doesn't know when he's going to die. There is like a ticking time bomb inside of him, but it could not go off for another 70 years, so it doesn't really matter that he was exposed to the iodine. So now, during the midst of all of this, his wife Babette has kind of gone from, yay, I'm Babette, I go and help people who are disabled. She goes from that to basically being a zombie. She's can't remember anything, she doesn't want to do anything that she usually does, and her daughter finds this pill called Dylar. So it's mentioned and then promptly forgotten till section 3, which is called Dylarama. But so they find out that Babette has been doing a bunch of questionable things in order to obtain this pill that supposedly targets the fear of death in your subconscious. This family. What is with this family? Oh my god. So she has sex with this guy and he gives her the pills in exchange for it, and she's just terrified because fear of death, you know. He has to tell him the name of the guy that she's been sleeping with to get the pills, but he eventually finds out and his dad shows up conveniently to give him a shotgun. He has a shotgun, shoots the guy, and then has a change of heart, doesn't want to kill him, brings him out to some nuns, and then they find out that the nuns are atheists and everything's going to hell. What is this book? What is this book? And then after that, it kind of just stops. After that, he just kind of goes back to his everyday life. It's like, yeah, I almost killed a man. Found out that even nuns don't believe in God. Found out my wife's been sleeping around. Oh, and by the way, I'm still gonna die because of the airborne toxic event. But no, let's just go back to teaching Hitler studies. That makes so much sense. So just by reading that, it sounds like it's going to be a wonderful story, but I hated it. We read the first chapter in class, and I'm like, oh, this is nice. I'm really excited for this. It sounds good. I read the rest of it, and it's terrible. Mentions the fear of death right there in the summary, and holy snoot, the fear of death permeates everything. I mean, I get that it's the theme, but he literally says who will die first, or some sort of variation of that, 29 times in this book. You see all my little stickies? The light pink ones are every time he mentions his fear of death. There are 29. So every character was essentially a variation of Jack. All of his friends, I couldn't tell him from his friends because they were all saying things that he would say. Oh my god. Maybe this is just the feminist in me bitching about this, but holy snoot, he is such a jerk to his wife. It felt like Babette was there as a prop. She was there to light the fire under his ass, but not in order to be a character in and of herself. So he spends an entire conversation with her telling her that her side effects of Dylar and her fear of death is unimportant because the whole point of Babette is that she speaks to me, that she reveals and confides. You've been depressed lately. I've never seen you like this. The whole point of Babette is that she is a joyous person. She doesn't succumb to self-pity. Who the fuck are you to decide the whole point of Babette? She does not exist simply to be your wife or to provide you with character development. And that's what I disliked about this book. There were so much. All of the characters, so let's just a rundown. All of the characters except for Heinrich were the same, and Heinrich was still a little shithead, essentially. Babette wasn't given much of a life of her own. She was mainly used as a prop to light a fire under Jack's ass, which I understand because Jack is the main character, but still, nothing happens until the airborne toxic event, which I guess thematically makes sense, but it made for an incredibly boring book to read. This book felt like it was swimming in symbolism and thematic resonances and metaphors and the entire point of life that somehow just went over my head. This book was like listening to white noise for 6 hours, which I suppose would be incredibly relaxing, but it was just boring. Next book, I'm about halfway through at this point, is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf by Edward Albee. That will be the next book that I review.